All right. Let's see if this is going to be better. I believe my microphone was not properly hooked up. Like it gave me a notification that my microphone disconnected. I heard like the little ping or something. But actually, I didn't know it was the microphone until just now. Okay, good. Good. All right. So it looks like there's the notification again. So you guys should be notified about the stream. Everybody should start coming in here. All right. Fantastic. Phenomenal. Awesome possum. Yay, it's working. Very good. All right. So how's everybody doing this weekend? Hello. Hello, Roxanne. Hello, Rogue. Hello, Benny. Kim, what's up, Kim? Good to have you all here. Hey, Mark, how are you doing, sir? Hey, Tammy. Today we're going to be having a little bit of fun. We're going to be talking about a topic that I've had on my list of to-do for videos that I wanted to do for quite some time. This is the topic, of course, of pilot CDL and boat DUIs, titled, "Why Are DUI Consequences Worse If I'm a Pilot CDL or Boat Operator?" Hey, Rod. Thanks for joining us, buddy. Don't forget to like this video, comment below, or subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell if you haven't already, to be notified whenever I go live and do these types of videos. Today is going to be fun. We're going to be talking about, like I said, the consequences for non-traditional DUI clients. Of course, we get all sorts of DUI clients of all walks of life coming through our doors. And naturally, we get a lot of CDLs. We get very few pilots, but there are the occasional pilot. Boat DUIs are a lot rarer, but because of the penalties for those are a whole lot less. And I just think that this topic merits to be covered despite that fact, because pilots and CDLs are definitely an exception to the refusal requirement, if you will. That any DUI defense attorney worth their salt will tell you that you should refuse. However, in a regular traditional DUI where you should refuse, you will find out in due course why pilots and CDL drivers are the exception rather than the rule when it comes to refusals, and you'll see why in a moment. Mark, to answer your question, DUIs have actually gone down. Not surprisingly, because bars are closed. I'm really hoping that this weekend we're finally going to see a resurgence in the bar scene. So we're going to have some more DUIs. I'm not praying for it by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm anticipating it as a natural consequence of bars being open. As some of you that have known me for quite some time know that I advocate for the less DUIs. And if you can take me and put me out of business, I'm going to be a happy man. That means we have solved the DUI problem in at least the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Now, chances of that happening, pretty slim to none, but it would be fantastic if it did happen. And Rogue, it's an interesting assumption that DUIs would go down. The DUIs would go up because of the pandemic. People are drinking more, but they're not going out. So the fact that they're drinking more, and unfortunately, a lot of them now are going to start going out more. And those same drinking patterns that they have been exhibiting over the last few months since March when they were locked up are now going to continue as they're roaming free. So DUIs are going to be on the rise, and they're going to be on the up and up. Kim, why would you ask something like that? Come on now. Let's see. Yeah, so a lot of we have lakes too. We don't have any oceans. Our bodies of water, Mark, here are lakes, so we get a lot of lake DUIs. So we'll be talking about those in a few moments. First and foremost, I wanted to thank you all. Unbelievable. We are almost at 32,000 subscribers. This is just amazing. Yeah, Liberty. I heard that they closed the bars in Florida again. This is just incredible. So many subscribers, so many views. I think I had to remove one video for privacy reasons, so the views should unfortunately drop quite drastically because that video has accumulated quite a few views. But I had to take it down for personal reasons. So that video is going to bring my viewership down just a little bit temporarily. I mean, we'll bring it back up in a few weeks or something. I'm not too concerned over that. But I'm sorry I haven't been able to post new content. I do have some content in the pipelines. Like I said, some amazing content that I just can't release because the cases are still pending. It is me going up against a judge. It's a very unique video, and I'm unfortunately I can't even release that. Thank you, Goodyear. Please don't spam the channel, even though I do appreciate it. So we will get some more videos. No, I'm not worried about my ratings, Liberty Cause. I'm simply I noticed a significant drop since I haven't been able to post. Not significant, but noticeable. Let's just call it a noticeable drop in viewership. But just because I haven't really been pumping out new content, but very soon we're going to be back with more content as courts open up. Jury trials are due to resume, as I've already said, August the 1st. So starting August 1, we're going to have jury trials. I think I have 3 scheduled in August. I have 3 scheduled in September, and I'm probably going to have at least 1 or 2 that I can think of right off the top of my head. Right off the top of my head is 2 in October. So yeah, and I remember, I don't know, some of you may be more newer subscribers and followers. Some of you may be a little bit on the older side. Last year, I remember I had a huge gap between the months of May and August just because I didn't have any jury trials scheduled, or I didn't have anything worth uploading, even if we did have jury trials. So pretty much the entire months of May, June, July, and most of August, I had absolutely no new posts. I remember you guys were wondering, where the heck have I disappeared to? Well, that's where. I just didn't have anything to share with you all, unfortunately. And with the coronavirus, obviously, I had to repump a lot of old content, and I shared 1 or 2 videos from other people. I think maybe even just 1. I don't want to make this channel into something that it's not, which is, sharing other people's videos and describing them is really not my forte. I would much rather show my own content that's unique, that you can't find anywhere else on YouTube. A lot of this content is recycled by other individuals, and thanks, Liberty Cause. I'm that's pretty much my saving grace is the memes. I've become the meme god or whatever on YouTube. So people have been subscribing. Become a criminal lawyer. Tammy, I am a criminal defense lawyer. I don't know what you're trying to pull here. I just try DUI cases mostly. If we get a criminal trial, I will post that too. I have no problem doing that. I just don't set those for trial. Those usually settle. Thank you, DS. I appreciate that, brother. He said my meme game is strong. All right, so be it. So yeah, so that's pretty much where we're at, giving you a little update here. With the coronavirus, it's been difficult to get courtroom appearances. And yeah, Jason, that's pretty much exactly my videos are speak for themselves, and it is kind of a self-advertising. I want new content myself, meaning I want to be in the courtroom. You have no idea how anxious I am to get back into moving the podium mode. I missed it. I haven't touched that podium in like 4 or 5 months, and it's very frustrating. I really want to move that podium, and I want to start cross-examining police officers. And I mean, I have so many good cases that I want to take to trial. I just don't have the opportunity, and it's very unfortunate, but it's coming. And I'm very excited, and I'm hoping to be able to do that, to post some new videos as soon as they become available. Share it with you all, because I mean, there's nothing more fun than reading your comments after a good day's work. So we're going to be taking a lot of them to trial, Rogue, a lot of them. And Liberty, that's fine. I think Kim is here. I don't know if she stepped out. I saw her comment not that long ago. Let's see. Let's turn on timestamps so I can see where everybody is. There we go. Okay. So is B? I don't think B is here. I didn't see him, but that's okay. We don't have that many people. I don't think moderating is going to be that difficult. This is not a controversial topic. So okay, Kim's still here. So I got one moderator. That's more than enough for me. We got almost 40 people here. No big deal. And that's fine, Liberty. You go and do whatever you got to do. So how about we get started? So again, the topic for today are the consequences and penalties for DUIs of individuals who have been charged with DUIs who are of 3 distinct categories. So the first two kind of go hand in hand. They're going to be typically driving either a personal vehicle or a commercial vehicle. So it'll be a vehicle on dry land for the CDL and pilot consequences. Now, if you're flying an airplane under the influence, you got a whole different thing coming. I have almost never seen those cases. They very rarely exist. Especially they would probably occur in commercial airplanes. If you're a private pilot, if you're a private pilot and you're operating your own airplane under the influence, I think you have much more different and worse problems to worry about. I mean, if you crash that plane, crashing a car, you can still survive. There's a pretty high survival rate, I imagine. But you crash an airplane, you're pretty much probably 100% dead. Especially if you're under the influence. Sometimes things malfunction. You may be sober and crash the airplane anyway. But anyway, that's a whole different topic. Those types of cases I almost never receive anyway. I've never seen a case like it, usually because the subject is going to be dead. Or if they're trying to operate the airplane under the influence, they were probably just taken away from the premises. I don't know if police would be called or anything like that. So again, that's a rarity. I've never seen it. But the second category we're going to be talking about are DUIs on a boat. So if you are a boat operator with a boat license or a temporary boat license and you're under the influence, what are the types of consequences? In Kentucky, again, I'm going to be talking about Kentucky law with the exception of pilot and CDL. Those are kind of more or less universal because they're covered by the CFR, the federal laws, under federal laws. So those are going to be covered here today. Thank you for the $2 donation, DS. I really appreciate it. The $1.99. I quit coffee, by the way. I don't know if I had told you all, so I can't even say it's going to cover my cup of coffee for tomorrow. I no longer drink. I no longer alcohol. Now I no longer drink coffee. The next on my list is going to be sugar and sodium. Sugar and salt. So hopefully we will. Yeah, I quit drinking coffee, Liberty. So I'm trying to clean up and get. I know everybody, the majority of the world doesn't drink coffee. It's only America that's so dependent on caffeine. Uh, it. I'm not going vegan. No, nothing crazy like that. I started running though. Let me tell you, you really want to get perked up the next morning, not usually the day of. The next morning, I'm telling you, go for a run. The next morning, you're gonna wake up with a lot of energy. I don't know where it comes from. It just comes from somewhere, and you don't need caffeine in order to self-sustain. Now, I have been in the initial days of withdrawal from caffeine. I have been napping a lot. I will say that, and I am. But anyway, so that just a little tidbit for you all who are, if you're looking for support, moral support, you're trying to quit alcohol or you're trying to quit caffeine. Here's a guy who has done both. And I did accidentally consume ice cream the other day that had like caffeine in it, so that kept me up. That was unfortunate, but I ended up awake like literally half the freaking night, if not 3/4 of it. That was an accident, but caffeine I'm not too worried about taking accidentally. That was a fluke, but I'm not going to be drinking. I haven't drank any coffee since last Friday. So 8 days of absolutely no caffeine other than that ice cream, but no coffee, absolutely. And I feel great. I mean, the withdrawals are real, by the way, people. The withdrawals are, because I used to consume a cup a day, sometimes even more. And the withdrawals are real. You do feel lethargic. You do have symptoms, because I noticed certain symptoms that I never exhibited before, and I had to research and read them. So if you're interested on the effects of quitting caffeine and what it does to your body, by all means, you're more than welcome to do the research or talk to me. It's real. It's real. Caffeine withdrawal is a real thing. And depending on how much you've been drinking, how long, and over what period of time, that's really going to affect how long you're going to be suffering from the withdrawals. So they could last anywhere from like 2 to 9 days with residual effects, perhaps even longer. Just realized that I didn't turn on my ring light. Don't know if that's going to be, is that going to be better? That looks better. Put some more light on me. Okay. All right. So thank you for the $2 donation, America's favorite Brazilian. 5 years ago, I was practicing law here in Kentucky. So if you needed me, sorry that you didn't call me, I guess. All right. Let's talk about, start with CDLs. Let's start with CDLs, okay? So commercial driver's license. When I say CDL, I'm sorry for all of you aficionados out there who are unfamiliar. Caffeine addiction, says American favorite Brazilian. I'll be looking for your help. Thanks for the $5 donation, brother. Yeah, don't forget to hit that like button. Sorry, I'm just going to get a little comfortable here. So let's talk about CDLs. So commercial driver's license. If you're a commercial driver's license operator and you get pulled over for a DUI, actually, I don't know if I like this. I'm kind of sideways, aren't I? Let me go this way. There we go. So if you're a commercial driver's license operator, you have different, you're looked at as a different driver on the road. You're a professional operator of a motor vehicle. That's the way that the FMCSA, the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, looks at you in such a way, because you have passed more rigorous tests. You've actually passed not only your driver's test, but then you also pass your commercial driver's license privileges test. So in order to operate a commercial motor vehicle, you have to pass that test. You cannot operate a commercial motor vehicle without passing it. So you're looked at as a professional driver. You're not just your run-of-the-mill, grandma getting behind the wheel trying to go to Kroger to buy some groceries. So your requirements are a lot more stringent. And some of the requirements are, first of all, if you're operating a personal vehicle, there are a lot of things that CDL drivers don't have privileges of. For instance, Traffic school. Commercial driver's license operators operating their own personal vehicle, mind you, are not eligible for traffic school. So if you get a ticket, and you try to do driving school in order to lessen the points, you are not going to be able to do that. Why? Because you're looked at, as I said, as a professional driver. And as a result, the rules are different for you. So you're not going to be able to avoid the points. You're going to have a whole lot more difficulty in getting those points off and getting the ticket resolved in a favorable manner. All right, Liberty, I'll see you around. So if you're in a personal vehicle, you are only going to be subject to the same DUI penalties under KRS 189A.010, and your BA limit is 0.08. Okay, so that remains the same. Now, if you're operating a commercial motor vehicle, a commercial rig, that rule changes. That rule changes, and KRS 281A.190 is applied. So not only is the requirement for you to operate a motor vehicle below 0.08 is lowered, the threshold is now 0.04. In addition to that, you also have other requirements that you must abide by as a CDL operator. So for instance, under KRS 281A 210 subsections 1 and 2, if you have any measurable or detectable amount of alcohol, even a scintilla, meaning forget the limits, 0.04, 0.08, scintilla of alcohol, any measurable, so at least 0.01, I suppose, is what they're saying. If it's 0.00, obviously that's not measurable and non-detectable. But if you have any measurable or detectable amount of alcohol or other controlled substance in your system, prescription or not, there's no distinguishing here, you will be placed out of service for 24 hours. So what does that mean? That means if you haven't been driving, you're about to go and embark on a trip, obviously they can't charge you with operating a motor vehicle under the influence, then you're going to have an issue driving. You're not going to be able to. You're going to be put out of service for 24 hours if they suspect that there's alcohol or controlled substances in your system. The per se limit, as I've already alluded to, is 0.04. That's KRS 281A 210 subsection 3. Now, it gets even hairier when you are talking about taking the breathalyzer. So I'll kind of lump these together. When it comes to, and you're right, by the way, Mark, that is one drink. For CDL drivers, I mean, can you imagine driving an 18-wheeler with a full load weighing 80,000 pounds, traveling on the roadway? The state has got it right. They don't want you getting behind the wheel even after one drink, especially if they catch you. Now, if you're already driving and you're below 0.04, you will probably be put out of service for 24 hours. But if you're above 0.04, then you can no longer operate a motor vehicle. So if you are convicted of a DUI due to registering a breathalyzer result above a 0.04, or are found guilty to have had of controlled substances in your system, you'll be disqualified from operating a motor vehicle for 1 whole year. Okay. And this is on top of whatever suspension that you have on the state side for your state license. So let's say in Kentucky, until Wednesday, when the laws change for DUI first offenders, currently the law is 120-day suspension on a first offense, and that will change to 180 days on Wednesday when the new law goes into effect. You can get it lowered with the ignition interlock, but for the sake of argument, let's just use the old law. So 120-day suspension of your license currently under Kentucky law. And let's say you're also a CDL license carrier. So if you get convicted of the DUI, you lose your personal license for 120 days, eligible to get it back out on day 121. But your CDL privileges, you are only eligible to get reinstated on day 366. So 1 year and 1 day after the conviction. So it's 1 year mandatory. Exactly, Mark. On a second offense, it's a mandatory lifetime suspension of your CDL privileges. So whatever the state side is, the majority of states I don't think is lifetime on a second offense. I know Illinois, Michigan, possibly Oregon, maybe even Indiana. They're very strict. I would imagine New York, on a third offense, you probably lose your license for a lifetime. I've heard you have a right to appeal after like 10 years or something like that. But they make very, very seldom exceptions. But in Kentucky, on a third offense, then under the old law, it would have been a 36-month suspension maximum, so 3 years. Now with the new law, it's with the ignition interlock, it's going to look like it's going to be 18 months. So they're slicing it in half. Everybody's getting a break. Second, third, and fourth offenders are all catching a break with this new law with the ignition interlock device. I mean, that's pretty crazy. So that's where we're at, though. But on the second offense with the CDL, doesn't matter what state you're in, your commercial driver's license privileges are going to be revoked permanente for the rest of your life. That's KRS 189. Well, I'm sorry, I keep saying one. I'm so used to 189A. I apologize. That's KRS 281A 210 subsection 4 and KRS 281A subsections 190. Now, things get even hairier if you are refusing to take the breath test. Now, let's talk about that. KRS 281A 190 says that a person who holds or is qualified to hold a CDL license, or is required to hold, a CDL license, shall be disqualified. Shall be, so must. Shall be disqualified from driving a commercial motor vehicle for a period of 1 year if, now listen to these ifs. A, you're driving or being in physical control of a motor vehicle under the influence of alcohol or controlled substance, what we just talked about. That's basically the non per se violation. This is the officer observation violation. B is the 0.04. That's the per se. C, now this is where things get interesting. Leaving the scene of an accident involving a motor vehicle driven by a person who holds or is required to hold a CDL. Now listen to that language. Let's say you are a driver. Remember how I said that CDL drivers are held to a different standard? Remember that, Mark? Well, what happens is because you're held to a much higher standard, you are a professional driver. This is your job. Like, you know how some people are professional lawyers, other people are professional CPAs, others are professional chiropractors, professional doctors, professional whatever. CDLs are exactly that. Professional drivers, okay? Professional drivers. So if you are leaving the scene of an accident, you get into an accident, you are well aware of the responsibilities of an individual who has simply just gotten involved in a motor vehicle accident. And by virtue of you intentionally, remember, it's got to be intentional. It's not an accidental, you didn't even realize you hit somebody and then they reported. We're talking about a hit and run, leaving the scene of an accident intentionally. You will lose your CDL license for 1 year. Even if you're sober, just by virtue of leaving the scene. So that is provision C. D, using a motor vehicle in the commission of a felony, listed in another section, which we're not going to be talking about. Refusing to submit to testing. Now, this is the big one. E. Remember how I always said, choose to refuse or you will lose? And I always kind of say under my breath, unless you're a CDL or a pilot. This is exactly what I'm referring to. I'm referring to for CDLs under section 11E in KRS 281A 190. This is it. If you refuse to submit to a test and you're later convicted of that refusal, right? You can lose your license for a year, even if you win on the DUI. If you win and beat the DUI, you will still be subject to the suspension for the refusal. So don't blow unless you're a CDL. And I mean, it's very difficult to say because a lot of times you may blow a 132, but the facts are going to be amazing for me to be able to take them to a jury trial. And if I can't suppress the 132, the chances of conviction with a 132 may be higher than if you had refused. Because if you had refused, then we don't need an expert and we don't need to worry about the number. The number doesn't exist. But if you blow, you make your case harder. You get to keep your license as a CDL. But that's why I always advise my CDL drivers to blow, even though there's a borderline argument that refusal should be done in CDL cases as well. So committing a first violation of driving a commercial motor vehicle while the person's commercial driver's license is revoked, suspended, or canceled, that goes without saying, or causing a fatality through negligent or criminal operations of a commercial motor vehicle. So all of those were F and G under the same subsection, will cause you as a CDL driver to lose your CDL privileges for 1 year. Now, subsection 2, this is what I was talking about earlier. A person who holds or is required to hold a CDL shall, again, must be disqualified for life if convicted of 2 or more violations of any of the offenses committed specified in subsection 1 of this section, arising from 2 or more separate incidents. Disqualification for life. Okay? So those are all basically the main provisions that I wanted to talk about when it comes to CDLs. Now, it does get a lot worse. I will just briefly talk about if you are hazmat certified and you are carrying the hazmat as hazardous material, by the way, for those of you unfamiliar. If you are carrying hazardous material, hazmat, you, in the course of the offense, of whichever offense it is, first time offense, you will be disqualified from operating a commercial motor vehicle for 3 years. And naturally, that is understandable. I mean, you're carrying hazardous material. God knows it could be explosive. It could be flammable. It could be both explosive and flammable. It could be chemical, poisonous, whatever might be. And if you're under the influence carrying that stuff, that puts so many more people at risk. I mean, you run into a building, you're basically a bomb. So that's definitely not anything that anybody wants on their plate. So your suspension, if you're caught being under the influence with a hazmat load, will be 3-year suspension. The fine is actually quite low for CDL convictions. By the way, it's only between $20 and $50. Believe it or not. But again, the penalties on the license suspension are so heavy that their issues are definitely not going to be, their problems are going to be a lot heavier on the license suspension side. So the implied consent provisions apply to a regular DUI also apply to CDL drivers as well as pilots, as we will talk about in a second. And remember, like I said, you don't have to be operating a commercial rig in order to be convicted of a DUI for a commercial vehicle with a commercial driver's license. All of these penalties, if you're operating your Honda Accord and you have a commercial driver's license and you're pulled over, again, remember the limit is 0.08 because you're in a personal vehicle, not a commercial vehicle. Even though you're a CDL license holder, you're still subject to the 0.08, not the 0.04. And if you blow above a 0.08 or you refuse, in which case, if you refuse and convicted or convicted of that later, you will lose your license for a year anyway. But if you're convicted and you blow, you will lose your license for 1 year, regardless if you're convicted of the offense, even though you were not driving a commercial motor vehicle. Now, you can always appeal your 1 year CDL license suspension to the FMCSA, as I have mentioned, the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, if they did not comply with the rules of 49 CFR Section 383.52. Those appeals are extremely difficult. I have not had the opportunity to even attempt one because I don't know. I've never had a case that a client wanted to do one of them. So maybe one day, and I'll let you know how those go. I imagine they're not easy. You're not going to be in front of a judge. You're going to be appearing in front of probably an assistant administrator or like a DMV officer. Only in this case, it's going to be the federal kind with the FMCSA. And so, yeah, that's pretty much it on the CDL side. Hey, what's going on, Luck? How are you? Richard is here. Let's say hi to some people. Zephael, Joseph, how's it going? Richard, Rogue, you were here already. Who else is here? Andy. How's it going, guys? All right. So that's CDL licenses. Now let's talk about pilots. Pilots are very similar. Obviously, as I talked about it earlier, you do not have to be operating your airplane in order to be charged with and or convicted of a DUI. If you're convicted of a DUI and you carry a pilot's license, okay, you're in your own personal vehicle, you're driving around, you are going to be subject to much, much more severe penalties than if you're in a regular motor vehicle DUI, or even more than a CDL license DUI as well. Hey, Cairo. Hello, Tolvior. Hey, Nate. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So, what are the penalties? There are rigid reporting requirements and the seriousness of the matter to the FAA that is due to the person's, airwoman or airman's status. Due to the fact that you are an airman or an airwoman, you have rigid reporting requirements that require you to report certain offenses. Ryhawk, how's it going, man? Thank you for the $10 donation. You're asking, please elaborate on canine handling, proper and improper, and the laws surrounding killing a police canine compared to an officer killing a civilian's trained canine. Thank you and keep up the good work. I will do a separate video on that, by the way. Actually, that's a really good topic. There was a recent case that came out, and I believe a couple of people have mentioned that to me, and I saw the article. I didn't have a chance to read the case. My associate and I talked about it, and we will let's do that. That's actually a really good point, Ryhawk. Let's do canines July 18th. July 18th, we'll talk about canines because I already have my weeks laid out. We're going to be talking about the point system and how to avoid points. Next week, actually, that's the 4th of July. I don't know if I'm going to be able to stream, so we'll probably have to move that. Then we're talking about expungements, and then the week after that, it's going to be canine handling. Sure, why not? I think it's going to be a fun topic. So today we're talking about CDL, pilot, and both DUIs. And then on the 11th, I guess, we'll talk about the point system. On the 18th, we'll talk about expungements. And on the 25th, we'll talk about canine handling. So the 25th of July, a month from today, we'll be making that topic happen. So be on the lookout for it. I'll try and announce it if I don't forget. So All right, let's talk about pilot DUIs. As I was saying, they carry a lot more stringent requirements. They're a lot more serious, and naturally so, because again, you are if you're flying an airplane, you're responsible for your own life and everyone else's life that is in that airplane. And if you're not careful, then your actions are going to subject a whole lot more people to potential death, depending on where that airplane wrecks. If you wreck it, it's not just the lives of the people inside the airplane. It's could be a commercial aircraft, could be a personal aircraft. And you could crash it in a populated area, and that's going to subject a lot of people to pain and suffering, which the FAA, of course, is trying to avoid. So again, the similar to CDL licenses, people who are pilots, they're subject to the 0.04 per se limit, and that is found in 14 CFR 91.17, which talks about alcohol or drugs. Hello, T Stretch. How's it going? Are you a pilot if you're flying a drone? No. Pilot, it means if you're operating an aircraft, whether private or commercial. So 91.17 says, no person may act or attempt to act as a crew member of a civil aircraft, subsection 1, within 8 hours of the consumption of any alcoholic beverage. So if you had an alcoholic beverage, you may not operate within 8 hours after consumption. B, or 2, while under the influence, specifically of alcohol, while using any drug that will affect your faculties in any way contrary to safety, is the language of the CFR, or while having an alcohol concentration of 0.04 or greater. So if you have been splurging and you had like 8 or 9 drinks, but 8 hours have passed, but you're still above a 0.04, you still may not operate. Except in an emergency, no pilot of a civil aircraft may allow a person who appears to be intoxicated or who demonstrates by manner or physical indication that the individual is under the influence, except a medical patient under proper care, to be carried in that aircraft. You've all heard the individual who gets too intoxicated that has to be kicked off the aircraft. By the way, you all, if you're liking this content, don't forget to like this video, comment below, and subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell so you get notified if and when I go live and post new videos. So a crew member shall do the following. If they believe, if a law enforcement officer believes that they're under the influence, they must submit to the test. And if they don't submit to the test, let's see what happens. Committing an act prohibited by the section I just discussed, or refusal to submit to a test. Now, this is critical. Again, just like a CDL driver, 14 CFR 61.16, the refusal to submit to an alcohol test or to furnish test results. A refusal to submit to a test to indicate the percentage by weight of alcohol in the blood when requested by a law enforcement officer in accordance with the section we just read, or a refusal to furnish or authorize the release of the test results requested by the administrator, which is probably rarely going to happen, is grounds for denial of an application of any certificate, rating, or authorization issued under this part for a period of 1 year after the date of the refusal, or suspension or revocation of any certificate issued under this part. So you refuse, it's an immediate suspension of your pilot's license. Now, there are some exceptions, okay? The pilot must, this is a must, provide a written report, and it's called a notification report, of the DUI to the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration, no later than 60 days if one of the following three situations occur. And the three situations are a conviction after November 29th, 1990 for the violation of any federal or state statute relating to the operation of a motor vehicle while intoxicated by alcohol or drugs, while impaired by alcohol or drugs, or while under the influence of alcohol or a drug. The cancellation, suspension, 2, the cancellation, suspension, or revocation of a license to operate a motor vehicle. There it is. After November 29th, 1990, for a cause related to the operation of a motor vehicle while intoxicated by alcohol or a drug, while impaired, or while under the influence, just like the first section. Or the denial of an application for a license to operate a motor vehicle under the same causes just covered. So, if you refuse and you lose your license as a result of that, you refuse the breath test or blood test, you must report it to the FAA within 60 days. Failing to report, by the way, is worse than being charged, because the FAA that implies that you are intending to conceal it from them, and that it carries much more heavy and severe penalties. I mean, that goes without saying. It's better to disclose when in doubt, and this is definitely, there is no doubt here. You should absolutely disclose. The consequences will likely be a lot less severe if you notified the Federal Aviation Administration. So if you discover the reporting requirement after the 60 days, so let's say you don't hire a lawyer, you get charged with a DUI, your license gets suspended, you go into deep depression, and you don't want to, you just hide and barricade yourself in the house, and 90 days later you emerge and you finally contact the lawyer and you realize, oh shoot, I had to report it and I didn't report it and I'm so sorry, but the FAA has not found out yet. If you discover your reporting requirement after the 60 days, but before the FAA realizes that you have been suspended or convicted of a DUI, the FAA will view that as a mitigating factor. So it still doesn't mean like you're off the hook, but it does mean that they will look at it more lightly than if they found out on their own. So they have an address and or a fax number where you can send your written report to, explaining your refusal, your loss of license due to the refusal, your loss of license due to the conviction, etc. Zephael, what are you talking about here? No, if you are operating a drone, you are not, as far as I can tell, reading the statute literally, you don't have a license. When you're operating a drone, you do not have a license. You're not surrendering any type of license. I don't think you can be charged with a DUI while you're operating a drone. So I don't know what you guys are smoking and what you guys are talking about, because you're operating a drone is you're just operating a mechanical device that is flying. I mean, if you're so intoxicated that the drone runs into another vehicle, you're just going to be liable for negligence. No one is going to charge you with operating a drone under the influence. You guys are high or something. I swear to God. That's ridiculous. So I think you guys are trolling is what you're trying to do. So go ahead, keep trolling. That's fine. But not all the stuff you're saying right now, makes absolutely no sense. So nice try. For each event must be reported by a separate written report. And as I said, if you refuse, you must report it within 60 days of the suspension. And then if you get convicted, then you must report the conviction within 60 days. So you have to make 2 reports. Those are 2 separate events. And even if the 2 events occur simultaneously, each one must be reported separately. some information that needs to be included in the report is listed in CFR 14 CFR 61.15. Yeah, so that's pretty much pilots. Let's see. If you're convicted of a DUI due to registering a breathalyzer result above a 0.04, or are found to have controlled substances in your system, or have more than one motor vehicle incident in a period of 3 years, then you will face a denial of an application for a certificate, rating, or authorization under this part, as we've said, for 1 year, or you can get yours suspended or revoked under this section. So certain things that they will look at when you apply to become a pilot. So this is before you even everything we've been talking about so far is you are a pilot and you suddenly get charged or convicted of a new DUI. Now, before you even go in to get your pilot's license, there are certain requirements that they have. Factors that will affect your ability to receive a medical certificate in order to obtain your pilot's license, because you need a medical certificate for that. If your blood alcohol content was above a 0.15, if you are unable to provide the necessary documentation they're asking for within 14 days, you refuse to submit to a blood alcohol test in your past, that is also going to affect it. You had any other arrests, convictions, or corrective actions against you within preceding 2 years. You've been arrested 3 or more times in your lifetime. Believe it or not, that's a factor. Or if you've had 2 arrests, convictions, or corrective actions against you in the previous 10 years. So concealing a DUI from the FAA obviously is the worst thing you can possibly do. And any suspension or revocation should be reported, because it's going to be reported in the National Driver Registry in 45 states. The exceptions are Georgia, Massachusetts, Wisconsin, and a couple others. I just can't remember them off the top of my head right now. And the FAA checks them regularly. So if they find out and you haven't reported it, you are screwed. So definitely, if you are a CDL or pilot, especially pilot, but if you're a CDL or a pilot licensee, then you should absolutely, positively contact a DUI attorney like myself. If you're in Kentucky, I can help you, or Indiana. You're definitely going to be needing help, because if you go about it alone, you will screw something up. And losing your pilot's license, there's probably nothing worse than losing your pilot's license. I mean, I can only imagine the pain that will follow. So definitely not something that you want to be caught in the mix of. Now, we've talked about CDLs. We talked about pilots. Oh, I'm sorry. Pilots operating drones over. Okay, well, that's a whole different arena. I would be hard pressed to find anybody who's actually operating a military-sized drone under the influence. I'm sure they can be. They're not. They're just going to be shit canned. Are you kidding me? Losing their pilot's license is the last thing they have to worry about if they're a UAV operator. Come on now. All right. So let's talk about boats. Boating under the influence. If you're in a coast state like Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, New Orleans, Louisiana. I mean, if you're in Texas, New Mexico, California, of course, you got the ocean, a lot more boat operators, a lot more boats. And the penalties, I would imagine, in those places are a lot higher and a lot worse than they are in Kentucky. In Kentucky, we just have lakes. We have the Ohio River, which are much less populated. By the way, don't forget to like this video, comment below, and subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell to get notified of when I go live and post new videos, if you haven't already. And again, thank you all for joining me. Dissatisfied Convert, what's up, brother? Good to see you here, by the way. Let's see if anyone else that I recognize. Extortion Watchers, what's up? Mr. Baker Scats, good to see you all. Operating a hot air balloon, by the way, under the influence, yeah, I would say that is, I don't think, are you required to have a pilot's license for a hot air balloon? I don't know. I've never explored that topic, so you all can converse amongst yourselves, and I'll chime in when you provide me some details on hot air balloon operations. I imagine you have to have some sort of license. There's no way they're just going to let you operate a hot air balloon without knowing a lick about it. So you're probably going to be subject to some type of CFR, maybe even the same one as a pilot. I wouldn't be surprised. Ignition interlocks are a topic, Tolvior. I do have videos on it if you want to explore my live list. It's a special pilot's license. I would imagine so, Zephiel. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so in Kentucky, the per se limit is 0.08 for boats. So if you're operating a boat, you have a boating license, you must be below 0.08 in order to operate that boat. Now, if you consume alcohol or other impairing substances and are determined to be under the influence, obviously you'll be charged with a BUI. That's a boating under the influence, BUI. And to be charged with a BUI, you can be under the influence or you can be at 0.08. The statute prohibits, and this is KRS 235-240. 235-240. It prohibits, it says, a person shall not operate any motorboat or vessel or manipulate any water ski, surfboard, similar device in a reckless or negligent manner so as to endanger the life or property of any person. A person shall not operate any of the same that I just mentioned while intoxicated or under the influence of any substance which impairs one's driving ability. And any person who operates a vessel upon the waters of the Commonwealth shall be deemed to have given implied consent to a test of your breath, blood, urine, etc., for the presence of alcohol or drugs. For the purposes of enforcing this section, by the way, you're looking at KRS 189A010, except for that the penalties are set forth in this section. So that's interesting that so it's interesting that they look at basically all the elements of a DUI, operating a motor vehicle. In this case, it will be a boating vehicle or a boat, essentially, operating a boat under the influence. That's it. Those are the three elements, except the penalties. The penalties, which we'll talk about in a moment. So it used to be under the old law before they changed it. I think they changed it last year under KRS 235.990. For a first offense, it was just a fine. Believe it or not, in Kentucky, boating under the influence, first offense, DUI, BUI, was a $200 to $250 fine. That's it. Second offense, $350 to $500 fine. Third offense. This is a third offense. Don't forget, second offense, you just get a raise in fine, 150 to like 250 bucks maximum. Third offense or subsequent, so fourth, fifth, sixth, however many, you would have been fined $600 to $1,000, and you can be jailed for at least 30 days, or you can be subject to both penalties. That was the old law. Now, the new law, I believe, was passed in, like I said, I want to say it was last year. And the section I'm reading right now doesn't even have it updated. Or maybe it didn't pass. I'm not 100% sure actually on this, but what they were trying to do, unless this hasn't been updated, but it may just be outdated. If I go to the Kentucky legislature website, let's see if I can find it there. Yeah, effective June 27, 2019. The penalties. Here we go. There it is. Okay. So they changed it. They did change it, and it's been updated, just not on this website that I was looking at. Yep. So what they did last year, they realized, well, it's Michael Walker, by the way, thank you for that message. I would love to call you. Unfortunately, I can't. You have to call me. And if the expungement is in Kentucky, email me and or call me. I mean, he decided to publish his number, Kim. There's not much I'd be willing to do with that. That's on him. But what I would do is if it's in Kentucky, then I can help you. If it's not in Kentucky, then I could probably refer you to somebody who can help. So in 2019, in June, yeah, so it's been about a year. It's been exactly a year. We're still in June here. I feel like we're in July for some reason. The penalty went up. They realized our requirements, our penalties for DUI in a boat, a BUI, are so relaxed here in Kentucky. They said, you know what, we should probably change that. And they did. The last time they changed it was like 2002, I think. And I don't even know when those penalties were originally implemented. The law was originally written in 1960. So 60 years ago. And they added, so for a first offense, it's still the $200 to $250 fine. And they added, or imprisonment for 24 hours. So they can lock you up for 1 day. If it's a second offense, it's the same $350 to $500 that I just mentioned, or 2 days in prison, 48 hours. And the third offense is still the $600 to $1,000 and the same maximum of 30 days for a third or subsequent. And if you refuse, a refusal is deemed a violation, just as it would be an implied consent for a driving violation. So that it's fascinating. It's fascinating to see that I even have on my website, I believe, the original penalties, and it says you'll be fined so and so. I need to change that. You'll be fined with no jail time. I'm actually going to change it right now before I forget, because what I have is the old law. I wrote this back in like 2013 or 14, so it has certainly been a while. But yeah, so those are the penalties for operating a motor vehicle under the influence while on a boat. There we go. So now we got that updated on my website as well. So I don't have the old law an accident on it. All right. So that's boating under the influence penalties. In addition to the fines and the jail time, You will have to take a safe boating course, which is offered by the Department of Transportation, and you will have to present to the court a certificate documenting successful completion of the course. So you will have to pay the department a fee of $100 for the cost and materials of the instruction before receiving a certificate for of completion. That's KRS 235-993B. So yeah, that's pretty much it for boating under the influence DUIs. Now, interestingly enough, when it comes to CDL and pilots and regular motor vehicles, if you're operating any one of those three and you have a CDL license or a pilot's license or just a regular license, you will be administered the standardized field sobriety test, the walk and turn, the one leg stand, and the HGN, the horizontal gaze nystagmus. Sometimes they'll throw in the vertical gaze nystagmus. If they're ARIDE certified, that's the Advanced Roadside Impairment Detection and Enforcement course. That's kind of like the bridge between a DRE, which is a drug recognition expert, and a regular operator or regular, standardized field sobriety testing trainee. They'll do the lack of convergence test, or they'll do the modified Romberg test on you. So those are also options for police officers. If they're DRE, of course, they might go through the whole DRE schematic with you if they suspect a drug category. But if you're on a boat, sometimes also I've heard they'll do the coin drop. Most places don't do that anymore, or they'll do the alphabet or the numbers backwards. No one really does the alphabet backwards. That's just a joke from Reno 911. But the interesting thing is, in a boat DUI, they have certain different field sobriety tests that I've noticed. They do the finger test is one of the boat DUIs. They'll do the I think they still do the alphabet, and there's one more. It's just escaping me. I know they do the one leg stand, because a walk and turn is kind of hard to do on a boat surface, especially if you have a very small boat. So the surface area is limited. That's why the DUI for a BUI tests are a little bit more standardized. Field sobriety tests are a little bit more limited. Now, if any of you who have known me long enough and heard me long enough know that standardized field sobriety tests are a scam. There was even a recent arrest of a police officer getting arrested by a police officer who dropped names like nobody's business. And she got arrested for a DUI. And she even said, like, to the other cop, like, you did field sobriety tests, they're a scam. Like, that they're designed for failure. And I'm sitting here watching the video going in the back of my head, if you know that they're a scam, and they truly are, if you know that they're a scam, then why on earth did you perform them? I mean, that's my basic question. If you're a dumbass enough to know that you're not supposed to do them, and you do them anyway, I mean, that's just ridiculous. So I think some people like that, especially, they deserve to be arrested and charged if they're not smart enough to survive in this planet, on this in this game that we are all supposed to be playing, right? I also remember that some of you I know don't like me to refer to don't like me referring to life and my profession as a game, but I disagree. I think that what we do and what I do is a very complicated, very unique, and very multifaceted game. Is really all it is. We're all playing by the same rules, mind you, and when people cheat, We hope that they get caught and they get punished for it. Some people don't get punished for it ever, and they cheat and cheat and cheat and cheat and cheat. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate when we try and catch them. I won't be dropping any politicians' names, but you all can imagine who I'm thinking of. And it's just unfortunate that some of them don't get punished. And we all try to do our best as human beings in society. Some of us more so than others, but if you break the rules, you should pay the penalty. I mean, that's basically it. Or if there's not enough to prove that you have committed an offense, then by all means, hire a good lawyer who's going to help you out of it. This is the biggest misconception that people have about lawyers. They say, how can you represent people who are guilty? How can you represent people who have committed a crime? Well, hold on. First of all, let's analyze that statement. How can you represent people that you know are guilty? So people come into my office and they say, I did it and this happened and I want you to represent me. So here's money and you're my lawyer now. Well, first of all, I get to decide whether or not I want them as a client first. I'm not a public defender. I don't take everything that goes through the door. So even if I do choose to take you on as a client, now I am responsible for doing what? Proving your innocence. No, that's not what my job is. My job is to put the prosecution on their burden of proof. If they can't prove you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, and a jury does not concur with the prosecution's evidence, even though they may be guiltier than sin, but if the Commonwealth can't prove it, in this game, you are innocent and you get to walk away from it. That's just the way that it works. There is no ands, ifs, or buts about it. It's just simply, that's the way the system is designed. And I like the way that it's designed because it allows people, it's better than being in communist Russia in 1930s, where the burden was on the defendant to prove themselves innocent beyond all reasonable doubt. I mean, think about it for a second. The government brings charges against you for, let's say, saying a curse word towards our great leader, Stalin, right? And now in those days, I guess it would be Lenin, right? I forget when he took power, when Stalin took power and Lenin died. But regardless, you said a bad word about our political leader. That means you are now subject to arrest, and they will find you and they will arrest you and they'll throw you into prison. Now it's your job, and you can imagine how difficult it might be. Now it's your job to prove your innocence, that you did not say a bad word about our political mighty leader. And you have to prove your innocence beyond all reasonable doubt. You can imagine how many thousands, tens of thousands, probably millions of people rotted in prison just because their neighbor didn't like them and they wanted their apartment. So they ratted them out by making a story up, stealing their stuff, and having them lock up for all eternity and executed. So very, very unfortunate. Very unfortunate. So I still believe in this system. Especially you do have to have money, unfortunately, in order to survive in this capitalist economy. In order to be a successful player in the capitalist game, you got to have money. If you don't have money, you're screwed, or you just have to stay out of trouble and just scrape by and hope to get by for all of your life. So it's very difficult. So I feel like I've gone on a rant. I'm not sure where this is all coming from, but I figured that I wanted to share with you all. So, because a lot of people always ask me, how can you represent people, blah blah blah, and that's how. Because the Constitution, there's a provision, not just in the Constitution, but in our legal system that allows the defendant, with the assistance of a defense attorney or without, to hold the prosecution to their burden of proof. And that's exactly what it is. That's all it is. That's all it is. So I hope you all learned something today with CDL, pilot, and boat DUIs. If you have any questions, I'm going to open the floor up to questions. We've been going about an hour and 15 minutes here, so this gives us a little bit of time to do a little chitter chatter. By all means, feel free to drop your questions in the thank you, boss baby. Drop your questions in the live chat, and I'll try and get to them in turn, and try and stay on topic. I don't want to veer too much away from our topic, but if it's just a slight deviation, I guess I wouldn't mind, but try and stay on topic as much as you can. Deutsch Lehrer says, why is it better to sleep in the back seat than in the passenger seat if you are drunk? I made a video on exactly this topic last Saturday, so feel free to peruse my YouTube channel. The answer to that question is lingering in that video. Is there a solid answer to the CBD question as far as CDL holders are concerned? Asks Nate Edwards. That's a good question. And the problem is, no, there isn't. Like, I know for a fact Kentucky legalized CBD. And if you are in possession of CBD while you're in Kentucky, it's legal. But as soon as you cross over into Indiana, possession is a felony. So imagine you're a CDL truck driver who utilizes CBD oil or gummies or whatever, edibles, and you drive between Louisville and, let's say, Chicago, Illinois, which is a very common route for a lot of drivers. If you get stopped in Kentucky while you're in Kentucky and maybe some other states on the way, like Illinois, I don't know about Illinois, I'm just saying, it might be legal. Now, it is legal in Kentucky, but I don't know about other states. I do know in Indiana, if you get pulled over and you're in possession of CBD oil, you'll be charged with a felony. So it's very arbitrary. The feds have not stepped in. Obviously, CBD, I don't think, is illegal in any way, shape, or form by the federal government. It is, obviously, it has marked marijuana, THC, as illegal. So CBD is a very, very trick question. But yeah, as far as I know, CBD is a felony. Possession of CBD oil is a felony in Indiana. Or maybe it has changed. Actually, I'm looking at it now with some of the comments from Rye. I just wanted to double check, because last I remember, Indiana made it a felony. It is legal for any person to buy, sell, or possess CBD oil products as long as it doesn't contain more than 0.3% THC. Must meet certain labeling requirements, have QR codes linked to the ingredients, but it is illegal to have THC metabolites in your system. So, but anyway, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. For some reason, I had it in my brain that it's illegal to have CBD in Indiana, but I guess that changed in February of last year. So quite recent. Maybe that's why I just wasn't on notice. But I know some states, maybe not Indiana, it's fine. Other states may have CBD illegal to possess. So it would be difficult to travel as a CDL driver if you have CBD in your possession. If you get pulled over, boss baby, as I always say, refuse everything unless CDL or pilot. If you're a CDL, how can you know the differences from state to state? The majority of states are probably 0.04 to 0.08, Fall Guy 500. With respect to a DUI, I believe. I mean, if that's what you mean. So if I were you, I would definitely look into each state that you're going to be passing through to find out the laws in each one so you don't get screwed if you get pulled over. Legal Eagle is suing the government. That's interesting. What branch? What is he suing for? I'm just curious. Yeah, infidelity is a felony in some states. See Perceptions Music. Yeah, those are old laws in the books. No one really enforces those anymore. In Illinois, marijuana is legal. Yeah, I'm not surprised. So if marijuana is legal, then oh, that's right. Oh my goodness, what am I saying? I just remembered the Illinois governor expunged and pardoned like 800,000 marijuana convictions like a few months ago. I just remember. Thanks, Kim. So yeah, no, marijuana is legal. So of course, CBD oil is going to be legal in Illinois. So there you go. You know, you can drive to Illinois, pick up some marijuana, let's say, if not CBD, let's call it marijuana. And if you get stopped in Indiana, it will be a felony. If you get stopped in Kentucky, it'll be a misdemeanor. If you get stopped in Colorado, you're going to be fine, even though you bought it in Illinois. It's really annoying. These states are all arbitrary, and if you're buying them in one state where it's legal and then you transport it to a state where it's illegal, then you can get charged in the state where it's illegal, even though where you bought it, it was legal. It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare, and it's annoying, but it's just what it is. Deutsch also as asking, what if you have a CDL but not driving a commercial vehicle while you get pulled over? I talked about it earlier in the video, so just scroll back and you'll have the answer. They have stopped prosecution of possession of THC in Ohio, and I think there's a push for that in Georgia as well. I would never represent Charles Manson. That guy is despicable and insane. I don't know what you're asking me here, Ryhawk. My opinion of the Moore Law School, I don't know. So he sued the White House. Legal Eagle sued the White House, DOJ, CIA. Good for him. I don't know. He's trying to force compliance with a FOIA request. I mean, he's doing his own thing. I'm not too concerned. I don't follow him. CBD is an extract from the marijuana plant that is not psychoactive, Tolveor. All right, so it looks like you guys don't have that many questions about CDL and pilot and boat DUIs, which is understandable. It's a fairly straightforward, fairly limited topic. Doesn't require all that much conversing over. So I guess we're going to end the stream right about here. I wanted to thank you all for joining me. We're almost at an hour and a half anyway, which is right when I like to cut things off. So I thank you all for joining me. Thank you all for the questions. Thank you all for being here. And I really hope that we're going to have some more videos in about a month. Hopefully, we're going to be able to see some more videos in about a month. My next stream, I don't know if I'll be able to stream on the 11th. It may even have to be on the 18th. It may have to be on the 18th because we have 4th of July weekend, And then we have I have a seminar. It's a 2-day seminar, unless it ends sooner, but I may still be exhausted and not want to. I don't want to do a stream when I'm like super exhausted. Bicycle DUIs, I think I've already done that, unless you're talking about motorcycles. Motorcycle DUIs are the same as motor vehicle DUIs. And a bike DUI, in 2 words, it's motor muscular power DUI. So it's a non-motor vehicle DUI, and I have made a video on those as well. So thank you all for joining me. I really appreciate it. Happy 4th of July, everybody. Stay safe, stay positive. I think we're coming around the bend on this all coronavirus bullshit. I think it's gonna be a good weekend, next weekend, and stay safe, stay happy, and I will see you all, I guess, in about 2 weeks or so. If not, it might even be 3 weeks, unfortunately. So we'll see how it goes, and take care, everybody. Thanks for joining me. Bye-bye.